cloud. So I'll just record to my computer. So we're recording now. And then, like we mentioned before, if there's loud noises or something, just mute yourself, but it's only 4 of us right now, so it should be pretty cool. There's some dogs outside that have been like, burr, burr, burr. So if that happens for me, I'll mute myself. If you want to say something and there's a large group, we can just raise our hands and then interject, you know, when appropriate. A lot of visual cues is really good for Zoom. And then we have the chat window to the right. If you don't see that, there's something at the bottom called chat that if you want to send a message to somebody else specifically, you can, or to everybody. And if there are resources or anything we talk about that I want to list there for you to keep it, I'll put it in that chat box and I'll send it to everybody so you can just have that as your record. And then we're all on video, so that's cool. And I imagine this will be an hour-ish. You know, I wasn't sure how long it would take to get everybody logged in and all that kind of stuff, but más o menos an hour. Sounds good. And then, yeah, so let's just move into like introductions, because I want, you know, this is really about building community. And so we're very interested in hearing about who you are as an intuitive person and where are you in the world. So we're going to go around here and I can lead us off with my name. I already told you that, how intuition works for you, and then where are you in the world. So my name is Crystal. Intuition works for me in many ways, all the pathways. I see things, I hear things, I smell things, I taste things, I dream things, I feel things. And I've had sound and vibrational and frequency as some intuitive pathways. So I feel like I got a lot of them going online. And then I'm also a physical or kinesthetic empath. Okay, and then where am I? I'm in Mexico. Hello. Hola. Hola from Mexico.
Hola.
So who wants to go next? Just jump in.
All right, I'll go. I'm Ilona. I am in Florida. And
me too.
Yay! I'm in Palm County. And my intuition happens as knowing, like a sense of inner knowing, and sometimes a feeling that I get, like a physical feeling on a specific part of my body.
And one thing about Ilona, because we were just in Miami and I met Ilona doing the Miami recordings. So she's an emotional empath, I would say, with that deep kind of, you know, nurturing feeling and extension. So I would definitely put in there emotional empath, if you're all right with that.
I will add that to my resume.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Okay, who's next?
I'll go next. I'm Anna. I am an emotional empath. But what I've also noticed, I'm a physical empath too. So when I'm near people, I really do feel a lot of energies. And I'm pretty sure I do have an inner knowing as well. I'm still kind of exploring this side of me, mostly because it's always been like turned away in my outer world, kind of shut out. I've never really truly sat with myself and kind of explored until a few years ago. So it's kind of cool to be able to understand it a little bit better. And then I'm in Hawaii. So
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I'm in Oahu. Yeah.
Awesome.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
The light over there we see.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you, Anna. Thank you.
Yeah.
Next.
Hello, guys. I'm Aileen.
Hey.
And I'm in Miami. I'm in Florida. I'm wishing I was in Hawaii. I am first an emotional empath. I'm a physical empath. I have all my clairs developed. Mostly, like I said, emotional. I feel a lot of things. I just know things. My clair cognizance is very developed. I have a lot of dreams. I get visions or ideas, that sort of thing.
Cool. I'm just taking notes. So first of all, so I don't forget, but secondly, just to, you know, kind of figure out where we're going next. Cool. Okay, so then how about we throw down some clear definitions and some other definitions, and we see if we agree with those definitions, first of all. So here at Intuitive Human, we're making a glossary of terms, for crying out loud, because you guys, have you guys gone out and like looked at the like definitions that are online already of all
Yeah.
stuff?
It's crazy. It's
It is
crazy what you find online. Yeah.
I'm just like, okay. Like some places like lump in all the senses into
It
clairvoyance.
one. Right.
Yep.
Right.
Into
Yeah.
Like,
one. Yeah.
Not good.
No.
Not good at all. No.
That is not approved.
Dictionary,
Definitely not true.
the dictionary is like lacking also. So anyways, so we're in the midst.
Very broad. Oh,
Mm.
sorry.
It is. No, you're cool.
Yeah, it's very broad.
It is. And so we are defining, there's 6 clairs of how we're defining it. And clairvoyance, so clair just means clear. It's French for clear. And we have a language expert on the line.
Nice.
So
I speak 5 languages.
Oh, that's incredible.
Awesome.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
It's my jam.
I am not a language expert, but I do dig words and vibrational frequencies with words. So clair, though, technically does mean clear in French. And so clairvoyance or clairvoyance would be seeing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And again, a lot of times if you go research clairvoyance, it'll just like put all the psychic abilities under that.
Mm-hmm.
So we're trying to create these distinctions. And that is one of the charges that we're really focused on, is like delineation and nuanced details, right? So even in ourselves, when we're trying to figure out all of these pathways or accesses that we have, it does require a certain amount of focus, right? It's like, wow, what was that dream? Should I pay attention to it or not? And a real presence, right? Like even when you're walking through or having this active intuitive moment happen to you, there's choice points, there's truth, there's where I keep going, what's this breadcrumb, like real presence. And so anyways, back to the clair. So clairaudient is hearing. Clair, so through the ears or however you perceive that hearing. And clairsentience is feeling, like through the skin, through the body. It can be like headaches. It can be feeling other people's emotions in your body. It can be actual physical stuckness and energy stuckness and stuff like that, but a real physical, thick, dense expression. Where clairaudience, I'll just say a little bit about that just to back up. It can be, it's like hearing the voice of God or hearing a message. Like it's kind of like hearing, but hearing with the ears that have ears type of thing. And some people say it's like hearing in their heart. It's been actually common when people have shared with us about their clairaudient experience that it's a heart to brain kind of.
Yes, to brain. I was going to say, it comes to my head. Yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like, okay, my guide's telling me something.
Yeah, exactly. It's seriously, it's like that.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, okay, cool. So I get so excited. So let me get through these clairs. And then, so clairsentience, audience, voyance, gustance. That's tasting. That's not a common one, right? So tasting and smelling are least common. I don't know why yet, but they seem to be the least common out of them. And then clairolfactory is smelling, or I don't know why that one has 2 names, but it's clairalience, ALIENCE as well. And that's where smells are associated. A lot of times a smell can be associated with the spirit or a guide. Have you guys experienced that?
For me, I get like smells that will remind me of something, or a foul smell, or just a memory mostly of something most of the time.
It catches my attention when it's like pronounced, if that makes sense. Like if it's meant to be, like I smell it. Like I felt that before.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of medical stuff, evidence, whatever, stories, research, where smell is linked to memory also. And were you gonna say something, Lona?
It's the it is so I work with essential oils and I work with emotions and essential oils, and it's the only sense that is connected to memory.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's so interesting.
In the brain.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a thing. And then claircognizance, right? So
Yes.
all the five senses, easy way to remember is all the five senses, which is, I always forget one usually, but seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and then knowing is claircognizance. That's a different thing. So sometimes they come together. Sometimes you'll feel something and see something, or it'll be reversed. You'll hear and then feel, or something like that. They can definitely be combined in that experience of subtle awareness, kind of translating it. It feels like it may go into a deeper translation on the inside view of that experience. So far, what do you guys think about those definitions?
Yes, those I know of.
All right, that's what we're defining them as. So when we're creating our episodes and the stories and everything, what we're doing is when people are expressing their stories of whatever kind of empath they are, which that's been kind of funny to research as well, because there's different types of empaths. I mean, we got a lot of emotional empaths on the phone here, but also physical empaths, a couple of those, and then there's geomantic empath, which is a land-based empath. Have you guys heard of that one before?
Yes, you can feel when it's going to rain, or you can feel by the wind, or if something's going on in the land. Yes.
And some people can feel other planets and stars exploding.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
then also some parts of the world might call you. And you don't know why, but then when you go, for example, we just excavated an interview in Miami where this lady shared her experience of being called to the Czech Republic, but yet she's like Dominican and has like no direct history from the Czech. And then when she went there, like all these like visions came and totally like unlocked her personal healing and transformation.
Beautiful.
So that would be like this like geomantic, kind of like the land is speaking to you, and then in this case she saw a lot of visions and everything that equated to this whole internal like awakening experience. So that's geomantic. There's animal empaths. People
Oh, yes.
close to the
Yes.
animals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Definitely. Oh, okay.
What kind of animal experience do you have, Anna?
All of them. So when I usually get into the water, I don't get in because animals do come to me. Yeah. And then recently we had shark sightings, so I've been avoiding the water recently. And also we just have the quarantine and stuff. So no, but even my mom, she's a very intuitive human being. I wish she was actually in here right now, but she's actually in the other room sleeping. But both of us, exotic animals really, really like us. Like when I was at the zoo once, when I was younger, we don't go anymore just because of like the interactions. But animals would like come to the ends of the cages and like chill by me, or kind of just like like try to kind of interact with me on the side and stuff like that. And then just like domestic animals always attracted to me. Dogs love me. I don't know why, but they do. They get really calm near me too. Like hyper animals, they really seem to like chill out. Cats, I don't know, cats are drawn to me too. Usually when I was younger, they didn't like me, like it wasn't a thing. And then whenever I'm like out and about, because I work at nightclubs, and so whenever I'm out and about, there's just so many cats everywhere, and they end up following me like to my car, and like it's just, I don't know, it's a thing. It's a
really
definite
cool.
thing.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Do you know about this thing called like animal communication?
I've been looking into it because people keep telling me I'm a dog whisperer or an animal whisperer, and I'm just like, I don't know, maybe a little bit. I've got time now to discover some new things.
Yes,
So Yeah.
Right on. Cool. Well, there are a lot of resources available for animal communication. There's this lady, Anna Brayton Bach, I think is her name, Brey, Brayton, Ten, Bach, Bach, I think. And she's South Africa. And she is a masterful animal communicator. And I heard of her when I lived in Santa Cruz for a few years back. And she does amazing work, distance work with animals, like on hands-on with the animals, with all kinds of beastly animals, panthers and elephants and big animals and stuff like that. Yeah. So she's a pretty cool resource.
Awesome.
Fun. Well, there's actually a bunch of the empaths out there too. So I haven't narrowed that down, except that there's physical, emotional, animal, and there's like 7. Oh, geomantic. And then there's one that they lump. It's called intuitive.
Yep.
I don't know about all that. I'm like, I think that
Have you ever read the book, The Empath Survival Guide by Judith Orlaw?
I've not.
This is good.
Okay.
It helped me figure myself out a little bit, or how I can like set boundaries. It helped me figure out my boundaries because I really needed it, because it was draining me when I first like came into, like when it consciously came into play in my life. I went crazy. Like I was like, dang, I could have like figured all of this out in a minute if I would have just picked up this book and started reading. But yeah, because I had a really bad issue with boundaries before, especially because I am an emotional and physical. So like I physically watched it take over me. I watched it, you know, completely separate me from my intuition, you know, kind of like backed me away, because I was taking a whole bunch of things that just weren't me, you know, and they just weren't connecting to me. So it was this book kind of helped me sort of like get back to finding what will work for me, what will keep my energy apart from everybody else's. So that's what I kind of learned as an empath too. Like I really needed to figure out how I was going to navigate through my life. Otherwise it was just going to keep draining me.
For sure. I feel like the empath ability is like this like blanket umbrella kind of thing. And then the layers, whatever your intuitive pathway is, that it arrives in underneath, right? This like blanket umbrella. So if I had to diagram that out or something, because we want to do that, it's like having all the empath abilities with like little umbrellas, and then that any kind of clear pathway that might be strong for you, visions or hearing or whatever it is, that they could light up underneath that empathic kind of thing. How do you guys feel about that?
Yeah.
I
That would
want
teach
to,
me a lot.
I want to ask, when you would communicating telepathically go under intuitive, or is that like a mental empathy?
You know, it is interesting, the telepathy and the telekinesis also. I'm looking into that in a manner of where would that fall into, because it's a very good question. Telepathy for me, as I've experienced telepathy, it's like, it's kind of like the physical thing where I can feel other people's stuff. It's like I am thinking their thought. It feels like I'm thinking it.
Yes.
And how does it feel for you?
I do. I feel like I'm thinking that, and then that person tells me they're thinking that, and I'm like, wait, I was just thinking the same thing.
I know, it's so weird.
Or I'll text someone, you know, or someone will call me and I'll know they were going to call me, things like that. Like even specific things, like, you know, I've tested it with people, with certain people, and I'll tell them, think of something, you know, and then like it'll come out. Like, you know, one of my clients, he was telling me, oh, today, something about today. And then I was like, what about today? And he's like, oh, think about it. And I was like, it's your birthday. So it's like, we just communicated without saying anything, you know? So I'm wondering which one that falls under.
Yeah.
Because that happens a lot all over the world too.
Totally. Yeah. And so I don't know right now, to be honest with you, because part of Intuitive Human is creating a body of research to figure this stuff out. And so realizing that telepathy is a thing, it's a remote thinking mental link, if I can say it like that. And telekinesis is a thing, and telekinesis feels different. Telepathy feels different than having a vision. Like, so I would say like claircognizance, which is a knowing, is different than telepathy.
Right.
And maybe we can, you know, we'll just roll with what's alive in the space and be like, how does that feel different? Whoever's experienced that. I've experienced it. Aileen, it sounds like you've experienced it.
Yeah.
And start discovering what are those sensory-based differences in the ability to think somebody else's thoughts. And for me, it happened with a friend in LA. We attended sound and vibrational healing school together and became friends. And so I went down to LA and visited, and we drove up to Malibu. And I swear to goodness, I thought her thoughts, but I wasn't confused. And I eventually called it out like 4 times in. And I was like, what is going on here? Yeah. But I felt like they were my thoughts, but they had a little flavor of foreign to it. Like, just like not me, you know?
Does it ever live through you? Like, do you ever feel that? Like, do you ever feel it come through you, like a piece of them that they're not sharing?
I feel emotions
yes.
come through me and don't
Yeah.
stick. Yeah. Do you feel
I
like
get
your
that.
thought comes through you?
Yeah, like I feel it completely, like their whole, like their thought and a piece of their spirit or their energy rolls through me, and then I'm like, okay, I'm listening. Like, what's up? You know?
Right.
That's probably from your physical.
Yeah, and then I have like sometimes where I don't say anything, and like I just kind of know. I don't know how to explain it, but like then I can just feel energy in the room like shift, and then thoughts of like anything. And I used to think that it was like me overthinking and me having anxiety and being social, like having social anxiety, but it's like literally sometimes it's so loud, and I that's the only way I can describe it, but it's mostly feeling, and then it becomes thought. And then I live through it, and then I'm just like, whoa, like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, like first noticing the shift. I mean, a lot of people, even my teachers, I'm still connected with my place of study, Luminous Awareness Institute, and we were all together a few weeks ago, and they were talking about the virus, right, and how it enters the energetic field first, and then noticing if you're attuned enough or whatever, and you know who you are enough in a physical sense and an energetic sense, and being attuned even to that minute detail, you can feel it enter your energetic space, and then it will, get in and land physically or whatever. But it reminds me of that conversation with what you're saying, like noticing a shift in the space, however that's noticeable, and then the movement that follows after it. And Aileen, if you compare like telepathy to claircognizance, which is claircognizance meaning when you knew something, because it's a mental kind of frame, versus telepathy, which I think are very specifically thoughts. Like it's a very specific, active in the moment thought of somebody else.
Yes, it's actual. I feel like I can think exactly what they're thinking at that moment. Or, for example, with a friend, something pops into my mind. They pop into my mind, and I think of something specifically, and then I go right to them, and they're like, I was just thinking that, So it's like even the thought calls to me somehow. It's like I connect with them, I guess, maybe emotionally, and then it comes to my mind.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know what? I forgot my mic. Can you guys hear me? Like,
yes.
Good? Obviously you can hear me, but let me try my little mic. Hold on. I don't know if I'll be able to hear you though if I plug that in. Let me see. Testing. Okay, I think I can hear you. Is this any better?
Good. Not that much of a difference.
No?
Just a little less echo, I think.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I'm in a room that's concrete. Okay, cool. Ew, it's all official. Okay.
Interviewing
Okay.
with Owen.
Any, Ilona, do you have any telepathy kind of experiences?
I have not, because I definitely have had the almost like the clear knowing, right? Like a message comes through, but to say that I've had like almost like what I'm hearing is like almost like a synergy where all of a sudden like it's melding and it's coming together, that I've not had.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and the it's fascinating actually. Like that's the beauty and the joy in this work and discovery process, is that it's so fascinating to be like, what is going on present moment? And I feel like telepathy is a present moment exchange.
Yes.
It's happening right now. You're thinking the thought of the other person as it's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's like, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. In my case, I don't know if I felt it, or if I felt what they thought, or if they thought what I.
Right.
What? Yeah.
Okay.
How do you guys
Yes.
feel with it? Do you guys, because you guys use social media, right? How do you guys, like, do you feel like the energy sometimes of people, like when you're watching
Yes.
stories, like
Oh, yeah.
okay, is anything activated? Because I feel activated sometimes, and then sometimes like I can't, like I know I cannot go on my phone today. I'm like, no, everybody's energy is just like, can't, because I just connect so deeply, like I feel it all so deeply all the time.
Mhm.
And I know sometimes it's like lightly because it's like the internet, but yeah, sometimes
I
because like I still connect very well with like all the people that are technically on my social media. So like we still have like a personal connection or some kind of conversation going on, but it's just like, how do you guys like
I feel like you're more
go through?
first a physical empath and then an emotional. And that's why it hits you physically so hard first with the way you describe it. And
Yeah.
then you feel it all. So not only are you actually feeling it in your body, but then you're
Yeah.
sensing it. So it's like boo, 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 bombarding you.
Yeah, it bombards me so, and it's sometimes it's too much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I kind
And
of
some
feel
and
like,
it
tell me
go
if you
ahead.
tell me if I'm wrong, totally, of course. I feel like you are a being who is really very, very sensitive in general. Like, if you really looked at it, you tell me, could you feel your whole entire like house, wherever you're living, and all the beings in it, and then you could feel your whole like town, and then you could feel everybody on the beach, and then you could feel everybody like, there's this like width, like really sensitive width about you that's really like kind of fine, and even like a breath is like sometimes too much energy.
Yeah, a little bit sometimes. It can get that way. But I think that's when I'm low. I don't know how to explain that. It's like if I'm not connected to me as a whole, if I'm not like secure or kind of offset a little bit, that's when like it's it's I feel like it's activated, but also it's making me think that it's not me that is off balance or anything like that. It's me picking up everything around me that is going on. And I think that's where my anxiety and my like over my lifetime and stuff, like that's where that was stemming from. So
I feel like there's a range of sensitivity, right?
mhm.
Like if it's just like 0 to 100, if you are 0, let's just say, nobody's 0 anyways, but if you're a 1, you are just like really dense and really thick, and just like you don't even understand the energy at all, even though that's what you're made of. And then on the 100 scale is like, you might as well just like not have a body and like be rainbow body right now, you know what I mean? And then there's, of course, there's like, everything in between. And so when, you know, for my kind of body style, my personality type, I'm more dense. So I would be like, you know, left of that middle from the 0 to 100. And then for other body types that are more fine or delicate, thinner, longer bones, you know, not like enough like meat for strength and fuerte or whatever, like they have a different gift, right?
Mhm.
And we all come with our own innate natural gifts, and it's just like, how do we honor them? And so if there's this like extreme sensitivity that, you know, the rainbow body people might have, it's like, how do you integrate and be in existence and in harmony even with gravity, you know, in this really, really dense world that we're in right now. That makes sense?
So could that be that she's a very high dimensional being?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it would be having access for sure to
Yeah.
higher frequency and
Mhm.
higher dimensions naturally.
Right.
Like for me, I have an innate, I don't even have to work on it. Like it's just like I can get connected with the natural intelligence of nature. Easy.
Okay.
And people who are like that, for sure, seem to be denser people. And not to say other people can't do that or that there's not a gradient of accessibility for that, but usually more stout, more husky, more, you know, earthy kind of grounded people are easily in touch with nature, where more fifth dimensional kind of higher frequency beings, which are people who move really fast, right? Like they just every day in their life is just like so fast. And they're going to, for example, connect with the angelic realm as easy as I might connect to nature,
Okay.
for
I
example.
feel like I'm in the in between a little bit.
Right, because you have physical and
Emotional.
Mhm. And then animals like you. I think animals like more grounded people, no offense. Like you gotta have foot on the ground, you know what I mean? And then the animals be like, oh, okay, cool. I feel safe with you.
Oh.
Cool. Let me see what else we got on here. Let me talk about, we got about 15 more minutes until the end of the hour or whatever. But two other things I wanted to mention was a new term that I learned in this exploration, which is, we all know about near-death experiences. Yes? Okay. And I learned a term called fear with an F, fear-death experience. Who heard of that before?
I have not.
So a near-death experience is where you just like you're legit flatlined, right? It's a medical emergency. You're legit flatlined. You don't actually have the signs of life, and then people have amazing experiences inside of that. And then fear-death experience was a term that I found where you are kind of faced with a crisis of possible death. You actually aren't flatlined. Maybe your car's rolling, right? You're in an accident, your car's rolling. Maybe you're in an aircraft. I did an interview one time with a guy who was in an aircraft, and he's a CEO, kind of top-notch dude, who was took 120 flights a year, as he explained. And on this flight, the engines failed. And so he was faced with like an impending, you know, death situation, but he wasn't flatlined or anything, right? And so he had an amazing, amazing epiphany that like righted his life. And I met that guy last year at Burning Man, which was pretty funny because I'm not a burner, but I met that guy there and he shared my story and I ended up interviewing him. So really cool stuff. And so we're editing that, so you guys can hear the story.
Awesome.
The story. But anyway, so near-death experience and then fear-death experience. And just knowing, like, you know, we're putting these terms together as a collective kind of what will take you into deeper senses of, you know, the other side of you that is, you know, more accessible to spirit or realm or other dimensions and seeing beyond the veil. That makes
It
sense?
sounds like an ego death to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah.
Wow.
Exactly. And then The last thing I'll say, and we can keep talking, but just one thing to get through my agenda is, have you guys heard of the acronym that I'm using for the highly impactful view shifting intuitive events? Okay, it's called LISTEN. So LISTEN. And one of our taglines here is about listening deeper. And so I was able to create a LISTEN acronym, yay, that the L means listen, the I means intuitive, the S means shifting, the T means transformational, the E means experience, and the N means new you. And so it's like the qualities that of these intuitive or highly impactful intuitive experiences that bring you in direct relationship with other pieces of yourself. And when you kind of go through, so that's how we're qualifying people for interviews, where we're going. We just went to Miami, we did San Miguel, which is where I live, and then we're going to Colorado and New York and LA when things open up, and we can travel again.
Yeah.
And we're going to, and maybe Hawaii. I would love to
To Hawaii.
And, you know, really have the qualities that meet that LISTEN, which is, you know, really saying like this is a highly impactful view shifting. It like gave you like belief deconstructing, sloughing off, if you will, of who you thought yourself to be. So like the ego death kind of thing. Like you had to unknow what you thought you knew in order to even embrace what just happened. Make sense so far?
Yeah.
So who has had, do you feel like either one of you have had that kind of like turned you into a new level of you kind of thing?
I think so. I think I have. But I think it was all self-inflicted, so it was like a little bit more connected, or like the switch was like major.
Cool. Ailey, you were muted before.
Hello. Yes, I have. That's when I realized that I was an empath. Actually, it transformed me completely.
Nice.
I was able to find in a club my hubby's cousins. We didn't know where they had gone, and we were like wanting to go home, and we were freaking out because they're from Colombia and they didn't have phones or servers or anything. So I was like, so I guess that fear kicked in, and then I just like closed my eyes and I felt where they were, and I went through the crowd across the other side of the club and found them. Like we literally opened right in front of them, and I was like, what the heck just happened?
Awesome.
And I just felt like I needed to go, and I was like, and then I don't know, I just felt so relieved once I found them.
Wow. So
Wow,
would you
that's
say
cool.
if you slowed that down, of you went into this panic freak mode, and,
Right.
and if you slow that down, could you talk about like where you felt it or how you felt it and how did you know to go that way?
I
Was
think
it a
definitely
feeling or knowing or-
emotionally. I felt them. I felt their energy because I had interacted with them that day. You know, we hugged, kissed, like that's very common here in Miami. And I just sensed for them. I don't know how to explain it, but I just like closed my eyes and I sensed the energy, what it felt like to hug them, to see them, and then I just felt something in my chest, and I went for that.
Aw, nice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, that was crazy.
That's cool. And Anna?
Yeah.
Have you ever had someone pass away? So in November I was in Bali, and my grandmother had passed away while I was there, but I didn't know when she passed because we were a day ahead, and my mom didn't really reach out to me when it happened. But through that time period between the last time I talked to my mother and then when she finally told me about a few hours later, I had a very emotional like calling to come back home to Hawaii because I was supposed to stay out there for a long time, and like everything that panned out in that little frame of time went by so quick. I knew exactly what I was supposed to do, so like I felt an emotion, and I felt very heavy, and like I started crying, and then I was able to, get out my card and book my flight and everything, even though at this time, like, I literally had no means to be like, oh, you're going home, sis? Like, really? And usually with me, I had a scarcity money mindset at that time. So like for me to just go and do that and know that I'm going to do what I have to, even though I can't go and live in Hawaii and can't do things, I need to be there. Something's telling me I need to be there. And then on my way home, I had to pretty much pay for my luggage, because it was a ticket, and then pay for the luggage to go back. And I had 3 separate planes I had to pay for. And they charged me twice for it while I was in line. And I was like, wow. oh my gosh, like for a split second. And then I let it go. I was like, you know what, it's fine. Like, just charge it. We'll figure it out. It's not your fault. Like, I just, I need to get my bag home. I got on the plane, and the entire planes were full, everything. And I was able to get on, and the whole row for all 3 planes was empty, just me in the seat.
That's awesome.
I know. And I was
talk
like,
about
okay,
manifesting.
So, I know. And I was like, okay, so and everyone's kind of just like looking at me like, oh, why did she get, and 3 full seats. So I was like, all right, okay. And then when I got home, everything was different. Everything, like the way I felt as a person and in the space that I came back to, I was like, it physically felt different. And then it felt like a wave. It was like boom, like everybody's energy like started piling up on top of me. And I was like, okay, what is going on? Why am I back here to the spot where I truly like wanted to push myself away from? And then just more as my life starts to pan out, I'm starting to understand why I was called back to the island, like why I'm set here. Especially with the pandemic now going on, it makes more sense to me now, and I'm just more grateful about the inner knowing I had when that happened to me. And it was weird because it wasn't a death of actually, you know what, it did feel like a death of me. It felt like a piece of me had gone, and then all of a sudden, like, it filled me with all the emotion and was like, all right, so we're going to take you and put you here. This is what you're going to do. And then so I just like listened, I did what was here. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And Ilona, I see your head shaking a lot. You want to chime in, girl?
Well, yeah,
because do.
So that was like in the interview with Crystal, that was kind of my inner knowing, that I kind of always had these like intuitive feelings of like where I'm going, not knowing what it means, why it's happening. And so the biggest thing was in 2016, I traveled a lot for work, and I had this feeling like I need to move to Florida. I was living in Northern Virginia. I'm like, I need to move to Florida. I need to be closer to my parents. And it was like this weird, like, knowing that, just like this, like, download, like, you need to go to Florida. You need to go. And I had always told myself, I'm never moving to Florida. But it was like this sense of like, you need to go. Like, it needs to happen now. It needs to happen soon. And I was in the process of, I actually knew people who worked in Tampa. My parents lived not far from Tampa. And I was in negotiations to get a job there. Like, they were like, we just need to interview you and you're hired. And every time I tried to interview, the interview wouldn't go through. And I had the sense of urgency. One of the things that we discussed was like, there's a sense of urgency. Like, I don't know what's happening. And it needs to happen now. Like, I can't wait. And so my parents' anniversary was always December 23rd. And I'd always come to Florida to visit them. And my dad wasn't feeling well since November. We had taken him to the ER. And it was this weird thing where like they couldn't find anything, but he really wasn't feeling well. So I went home for New Year's, and on January 1st, I got a call that, because I came back on the 29th, that he was diagnosed with cancer. So I flew down on the 1st, and he was passed away by the 2nd. Wow. So it was like this weird thing that like I knew I had to be home, and I knew I had to be there. I ended up moving to take care of my mom, but like I never, up until that year, like had this thought like I need to go.
Right.
Was happening, but I was following that intuition. I was following that message, and it all unfolded the way it needed to unfold. Just like you said, like now you see, like, thank God you're here. Thank God, because of the pandemic. So I had of like really understanding, like I get to trust that that voice, that feeling, that knowledge, that download is the right thing, no matter how it unfolds. It's just where we're being led.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but the breadcrumbs are real things. And I think, you know, as we grow into our intuitive selves, like we all sounds like we have at least traversed a bit, that, you know, the more breadcrumbs you pick up and it leads to something, even if it's like way back in hindsight, like a year later or whatever. I am still tracking, you guys, something from 2017 with Liz Gilbert that my business psychic told me, and still tracking the breadcrumbs. And it's like super weird and takes a lot of courage and the capacity to not know and be inside and be directly in relationship with not knowing.
Yes, that's, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yes.
Crazy.
And so, you know, to each of us, like, cheers for, you know, stepping in and stepping onto the stone of intuition and keeping stepping on, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Right on. Well, anybody have, we got like 2 minutes before the end of the hour here. Does anybody have any questions or thoughts or anything that's like, oh, this has to be said before we close?
This is awesome.
This was
I loved it. It was
really
awesome
me
meeting you
too.
guys.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that.
It makes you feel a part of, if it makes you not feel alone.
Yes.
Makes me not feel alone, honestly. And I appreciate this. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I do too. Thank you.
Yay. Well,
I appreciate you guys sending love and light to everyone.
Yes. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate you all tuning in for the very first historical chat box with Intuitive.
Yay.
We're super deep in editing mode right now for our Miami shooting that we did a few, gosh, I don't know, 3 weeks ago now or something. And so we're so excited to finish getting that out. The first one's going to be coming out very soon. It's just got like 4 more tweaks that has to happen. And then we're going to be launching it on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't seen that, have you guys seen the YouTube yet?
Yeah.
I just found you guys through someone that I know, so I'm going to have to follow and search everything.
I'd like to subscribe.
Sweet. So there's one on YouTube right now. We've had a time trying to find, you know, video editors and all this stuff that it takes to make this stuff real. So now we have editors in place. They're editing all this stuff. And so we're going to be, you know, like launching episodes and everything, which is basically all the short stories that we've shared with each other tonight. You know, stories like that. So, but in an excavation. So we really slow down.
One, right?
That's it.
Got it.
You got it. So we really slow down and get into the sensory details about how it works and everything. So check those out when they come out. And then we're also making a documentary. That's super awesome. Welcome to Intuitive Human.
What the hell that is?
I was like, wait a minute. So cool. Well, thank you very much. And
thank you guys.
This is recorded, so if you guys want to revisit it, I'll see if I can make it available, although it is down on my computer, so we'll have to see. But, all right, cool. Well, have a good night.
Nice meeting you, ladies.
All right,
Bye.
Good night. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.